Hello and welcome to the Repeating Podcast. I'm Sagar and we've got Chaitanya and Pratik here today. So, hi.
Hi guys.
Okay, cool.
On a very hot
So,
morning, apparently.
yes, we're all in Vadodara. It's very hot here, peak of summer, and that's what the topic today is about. But before we
Yes.
start, none of what we say is to be taken as investment advice. This is all only for education and entertainment purposes. For any legit advice that we give, head over to repeating.com and pay up. Okay, so peak of summer. Um, how are you guys dealing with summer? What are your
Nimbu pani.
यार I only look for places जहाँ पे AC हो तो शांति रहे.
yes? On that
दिमाग पे
note,
शांति रहे.
हाँ.
today's topic is about an AC company, a market leader in the AC segment, very famous name, also backed by the most trusted conglomerate in India, the Tata Group, Voltas. And which ACs do you guys have at home? If you guys have ACs at home, some people are very anti AC.
यार how are they living in
I
this
have
particular weather then?
Environment
If they
first.
yeah,
no, I got the Lloyd wala.
I have
Oh,
Mitsubishi. Yeah.
fancy. मेरा पता नहीं मुझे. I have to check. Never bothered to check an AC brand.
Hmm.
But yes, so Voltas, I think one of the first AC manufacturers in India. No?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they've been manufacturing ACs since early 1900s, like around 1950s or 1960s. Yeah.
1954 to be precise.
Hmm.
अभी था
They
AC.
started.
हाँ मतलब वो AC इंडिया में लेके आए
Not the
तो
AC what we see now.
हाँ.
The old ones. You must have remember.
We to
No,
got an AC first time in the house only like maybe 10 years back. Bombay maybe
that
we never had
so
an AC in the
at my
house.
home though we only got last year for the first time.
हाँ बॉम्बे 10 भी नहीं फिर तो 5-6 ही होगा बड़ौदा में the AC came because it's so hot here.
Ah,
And in Bombay, nobody used to be at my place. Like parents used to go to work, I used to go to work, so no one's at home. There's
तो
no AC
जरूरत नहीं
required.
पड़ता होगा फिर कभी.
Yeah,
हाँ.
we're in ACs all day, but in offices, so
Hmm.
that was never
hmm.
required.
No, but it started in 1954. So it was a collaboration between Switzerland's Volkart brothers and India's Tata Sons, hence the Voltas. That is the name. So it is currently at 20%. It has currently 20% market share, but it isn't. It wasn't like that because in the initial period from 1954 until the very famous event that happened in 1991, they used to enjoy 40% market share just because there were no competition because foreign players को entry था नहीं. So they were the sole player. And after
But the market share
1991,
was also very small, right? It's not like
yeah, yeah.
they were the sole players in
Demand
a
was
large.
yeah, yeah. Even today it's very low the AC penetration. So even
Yeah,
back then, so it was a luxury item. It's safer to say that was the thing. But yeah, they had 40% after the liberalization. Foreign competitors like Carrier, LG, and all those guys came in, and then market share crashed to 7% from 40% because of the high competition prices and all those things. So then it was kind of like a wake-up call because they were living in a very comfort environment before that. And then now they have to deal with all these competitors and all this. So they had to adapt with the competition and the global giants which were against them. So a company adopted what they called like a big bang strategy. So there were mainly three product categories they targeted: product, distribution, and branding. So very small things is in this category. For example, the product negative perception was there about AC for the reasons you mentioned that because it is currently there are more environment friendly gases which are used in AC. Back then it was a pure HFC, I guess. Uh, so that was even more harmful. So they tied up with this company which was named Federals International. for the sole purpose because they were USA based company which were making relatively lower harmful gases wala ACs. So it was a 50-50 joint venture. This is back in 2001, and they launched a brand called Voltas back then. I don't think they have it currently, but it was a well-known brand back then. It was a different 74 kind of different features enabled. Also, Voltas was the first one to launch window AC in India and 1.5 ton AC in India. So that's a fun fact.
तो
If you
विंडो
guys
एसी
have
पहले क्या बिकता था? It used to be what?
ऐसा रखा होगा AC. I don't know.
आई थिंक एसीज पहले तो ज्यादा इंडस्ट्रियल एरियाज और सब में यूज होते थे मोर देन रिटेल सेगमेंट. आई थिंक रिटेल सेगमेंट में पेनिट्रेशन भी कम था एसीज का. था आई थिंक पहले एसीज वो बड़े वाले सब वो होते होंगे, वही लगते होंगे बिफोर.
Those
more
bulky,
like
heavy ones.
room
हाँ, द
ACs
हेवी
came
वंस.
later. It was probably just those HVAC
Centralized
systems,
AC kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
centralized ACs first.
एंड एट द सेम टाइम वोल्टस ने प्रॉब्लम भी वही था, उनका रिटेल सेगमेंट में कोई एज सच प्रेजेंस था ही नहीं.
Brand ही नहीं था.
हाँ, जब नए लोग आए थे, they were mainly focusing on institutional segment only. So I think that was also one of their problems. कि भाई they did not focus on the growing interest of retail segment for the ACs.
Yeah.
So for starters, they didn't have a brand to leverage itself. That's why they
Hmm.
tied up with this company and launched a brand called Voltas. Also, they worked on these small features which apparently retail customers like, and launched a different variant, what 1 ton, 1.5 ton ACs and all those things. Plus, on the backend side, they also worked on that material cost for Windows AC. So they also bring down the conversion cost by 60% over the same 5 year period, subsequent 5 year period. So that's how they worked on their product. Then the second point of focus was distribution. So to enhance the market presence, of course, they needed to increase the distribution point. So, but not only that, they also replaced some underperformed distributor by whatever the criteria they had set. And they did something as called training thing out of their pocket, training the customer representative basically. So they allocated like 1% of their overall revenue for that purpose only. So that it workforce reduced by 370 to something 200, but the efficiency of that same workforce was increased. So cost cutting measures like that. And in the end, the brand. So they launched a bunch of ad campaigns like ACs with IQs, then Aam Aadmi can own ACs, and then India ka ACs. A couple of such advertisements. So that's how they try to tackle this competition in their own manner. However small these steps look like, but that helped them took the market share from 7% back to 16%, so more than double. And currently it is 20% of the
How
bigger
long
chunk
did
because
the process take from 7 to 16?
I
from
think
7 to
only
16 it was 5 to 6 years.
5 to 6 years, yeah.
5 to 6 years. So it
Yeah.
was a long process. By 2001, if we take the starting figure, I think 2006, 7,
6
that
तक
must
they
have
reach
taken.
16%.
Yeah.
हाँ.
But
तो
I think it's
basically
very
मतलब
commendable that now like 20% market share is in a much more competitive market, right? Like so
Addressable
maintaining
market has become very large.
no, I'm saying from a competition perspective, like the number of
Okay, yeah.
players at that time would have been, say, maybe in the single digits. But
Single
now
digit,
you've
yeah.
got everybody producing room ACs and everybody is targeting this market. And if you
Yeah.
look at all the consumer electronics, the one with the lowest penetration right now is room ACs.
I see.
The highest penetration is for TVs and
TV,
fridges. Fridge because obviously
refrigerator.
like India is a hot country, so you can't do without refrigeration. And then later comes washing machine, which saves a lot of labor. Right? It's a question of saving time and effort. So that becomes the next obvious choice for anybody to introduce into their homes.
I think
And
it's the
first
last step. AC is
luxury.
the
Yeah,
yeah
ACs are
because the
like
comfort only comfort is there in AC. There's no other benefit as such. Hmm. Also,
So every,
a lot of people have heard that whenever someone is buying their first AC, apparently they prefer Voltas because that's the brand they've heard about it. Tata is there and all those things. Yeah. So after the subsequent, it may be not the case, but the first one they had a slight preference towards it.
लाइट हाँ कि हाँ ट्रस्टेड ब्रांड है इन्होंने इतना ऐड देखा है तो हाँ the customers will choose Voltas. So
Hmm.
basically
but they could
Voltas
even choose
was
like a Blue Star, right? That's also
Yeah.
pretty
हाँ.
popular Indian brand at the
Hmm.
end of the day.
Blue Star है फिर ऐसे देखे तो you can also choose Lloyd's also मतलब they have also
But it is
been
very
अच्छा
recent now. Lloyd is
हाँ recent
very like
मतलब
in
then
the
they have
last.
been very aggressive with their plans AC को लेके
हाँ, but that must be like
like
with the average like 20-year-old, 30-year-old who'll say कि चलो Lloyds कर सकते हैं
Of course.
या
But
Samsung
the
कर
older
सकते
generation would still prefer Voltas because they have seen Voltas since last 20 years, 25 years.
hmm, fair enough. तो
Nice.
basically Voltas का जो strategy था they changed so basically they changed their whole company from an engineering company to a marketing company. अगर if you see
Hmm.
what Chaitanya was saying मतलब they
Hmm.
increased their customer touch point they increased their distribution networks उसको पूरा they revamped it ताकि they can have more access to number of customers and then ad campaigns जो उन्होंने निकाले like AC with
Yeah.
IQs and then आम आदमी का AC to connect with the company. So basically they changed their whole shift from engineering to a proper marketing company or a consumer focused company. So yeah,
Hmm.
back in so not many people know this, but Voltas has an engineering segment also in their
Hmm.
company, the B2B segment, in which they usually do the EPC projects for different companies, both in domestic and in international markets. So and in international markets also they mainly focus into the Gulf region and the Middle East region,
The hot
basically.
ones.
हाँ, तो वहाँ पे उनका ज़्यादा फ़ोकस रहता है।
Hmm.
So they do electromechanical projects. So electrical mechanical projects are those projects जिसमें there are two components which involve both electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. तो इसलिए उसको electromechanical projects बोलते हैं. And then they have done projects in the Ferrari world also. They have gotten projects in Ferrari world. They have done projects in Burj Khalifa. So basically,
Hmm.
they are also renowned in the EPC space, which at least I didn't know until I started researching about the company. To be honest,
Hmm.
मतलब I
But all
got to
are
know
these
about
in HVACs and all those things, right? The
हाँ,
project.
all are these in this
Okay.
only mechanical or electrical solutions, even plumbing at times. तो हाँ,
Okay. Yeah.
they have, and अभी 2023 में they also got some new projects for the Chennai Metro in this particular segment only in Chennai Metro for
Okay.
Delhi Metro, and they're also doing one solar EPC project, I think, as of now. Yeah. So this segment at back in 2010-12 was at around what 70 to 75% of the revenues of the company, while AC was just
Oh.
at 25%. And if I
Hmm.
cut to 2023, if I look now towards the revenue split, it has come to around 25 to 30% of the revenues, the EPC business, and AC has
Oh.
increased in the meantime. So, but the revenue concentration has decreased, but the revenues from the EPC business have been steady. Like they were at around 3,000 levels in 2010-12 also, and now max they have reached at around 3,400 to 3,300 levels. They have been constant over the years, but they have just increased the market share of AC products in these 10 to 12 years ka
Hmm.
span. And the margins also in this business have been very volatile. Like they are in single digits, but at times they have achieved what around 8% during the 14-15 period. To they have even had losses in this particular business. Like in FY23, they made a loss of minus
Hmm.
2%.
That explains why they didn't focus on the EPC business and more on the AC
Yeah.
business.
So because of that, because of such volatile margins and such long tenure projects, उसमें भी what
Hmm.
happens is the timeline extends. So because of the extension of
Yeah.
timeline, cost overrun हो जाता है. So the company has to bore that extra
Classic
cost.
working capital issues kind of thing.
हाँ. So basically that has been a drag on Voltas's business. So that is why over the
Hmm.
years the company has been trying to increase its focus on AC, and which they've done pretty nicely, because at one point
Hmm.
जब 20-25% था, they have now taken to around 70 to 75% almost of the company, and with revenues have doubled at what around 15 So they have doubled at 15% CAGR in the past period. So yeah, matlab they have been focusing on the AC segment, and they have kept the EPC segment at a very steady pace. Like they're not reducing
Mm.
its concentration from revenues as
Yeah.
a whole, but they've just increased revenues from AC, and that is why there has been a decrease in revenue from the
Mm.
EPC business. So
There
yeah.
was actually a time, when like 2012, 13, like
Hmm.
I'd just entered the market, and Tabhi Voltas was like, obviously, like you said, right? Like you think that's an AC brand, but
Mm.
then you realize that there's so much EPC. Abhi to 20
Uh,
25% hai, whatever, 25-30%,
uh,
but at that time
Hmm.
it used to be 75%. And the most popular project at that time used to be this one medical research center called Sidra. This was in
mm.
Qatar. So they
Hmm.
had won this very large contract for this project where they had to do everything from HVAC to plumbing, drainage, firefighting, everything. And that was like I think some $250 million contract or something like that. Like it was huge, okay. And obviously,
Massive.
it was 7 years, 10 years, whatever. बहुत लंबा execution period. And whenever these Middle Eastern countries face issues in terms of oil pricing,
Hmm.
Mm.
there are cost overruns and project delays and stuff like that happening as a immediate impact for any company dealing with them. So Voltas was obviously also on the firefighting end here.
List.
And there was a time when one of these years only, they had taken a write-off because obviously इतना delay हो रहा था and सब accumulate
Mm.
हो रहा था. They said, let's just take a write-off and focus on finishing the project as soon as possible. That
Mm.
write-off was equivalent to 20% of Voltas's overall revenue at that time. Uh,
That's
so
crazy.
this project has gone horribly wrong for Voltas at some
Wrong.
point in the
Mm.
past, where it's a business where these guys have expertise in terms of tech, in terms of presence, in terms of just being
But very
pioneers.
low control over the
Very low control
pricing and
because there's just so much dependence on a client, right? It's just
mm.
insane how much you just become a slave of your customers. um,
Hmm.
and not even in a space where you have multiple customers and not like
Mm.
a low client concentration. That is also okay if you're a slave.
Diversification is, yeah.
It's cool, but if you're a slave for one, that becomes a situation which is worse.
Mm.
And you can't even leave. Yeah, you have to
Yeah, if you've
execute.
invested so much,
Uh,
and then if
Invested, huh? It's a
you're
sunk.
supposed to get revenue, and contracts are always designed on a milestone basis for such projects which are long tenure. So you're
Mm.
supposed to deliver X amount, and then you get paid Y amount, right? So this always functions in a very proportional, hand in hand kind of manner. Obviously, I mean, completing this project, maintaining the relationship, gave them access to many more projects which are so much more
Mm.
renowned, have that star status, right? Like Ferrari World, for example, or Burj
Yeah.
Khalifa. They've done so much work in the Middle East. But yeah, there has been a huge cost of it, at least in the past.
Mm.
Continues to be, right? Like, because still it's not profit making. I mean, it's
Yeah.
lumpy in terms of profits. It's still a drag on the business. But
Mm.
yeah,
But I guess that's why they're trying to reduce it. I mean, first by
yeah,
the AC in the last 10, 12 years. And now I think they are going into home appliances as well with I think this is another JV with a Turkish company called Arcelik. So this is a Beko brand. You guys might have seen the ad or something. So now with that
it's
brand, they are
pretty
trying to
famous in Europe.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
this particular brand.
So
Yeah.
they are trying to enter into washing machines and refrigerators and all this market. So currently, I think it's around 10-12% of the revenue, the home appliance brand. But they targeted back in, I think, couple of years back, they given a target of $1 billion this brand by FY 28, which will around from 12% to 30% of their total revenue by FY 28. So that will also help them what diversifying away from the EPC segment as it is very lumpy as Sagar mentioned. So hopefully that also turns out pretty good deal for the company.
yeah.
And then I
I don't
think I.
fully, understand this also, but like a lot of
Hmm.
like companies do this,
Mm.
right? They could have probably just done a Voltas brand for the other
AC,
appliances as well.
Voltas fridge or all those things.
Ha, because at the end of the day, if you've built a brand since the 1950s, so much of
Mm.
brand building, brand assets have been created, and you've developed a name in a segment which is ACs are not materially different from other consumer electronics.
Yeah.
It's not like you're buying a completely different product. If
Hmm.
it's a completely different product, I understand the decision to say that we're floating a different brand. Or if
Hmm.
the target market is completely different, even then it's understandable that you're floating a different brand. However, in
Hmm.
this case, I've never been able to wrap my head around why they would invest in something like this.
JVs.
Uh, yeah, and I understand for the tech they'll do that, but this brand is a
Innovation.
tech brand and it is big in Europe. Nobody in India has ever heard
Nobody
of
knows.
Beck. It's not like a globally big brand. Nobody in India knows
Yeah.
about unless it's associated with Voltas or Tata and in India for the
Hmm.
product they're launching. Um, and to build a new brand anyway, there is so much of a cost, right? For any
Cost.
B2C
Yeah.
venture, you
Hmm.
have to develop so much in terms of ad campaigns, distribution,
Hmm.
marketing, above the line, below the line, so much to do. And these guys, I don't know, like I just don't get it. Like I
I think
understand the
classic example being the Whirlpool. I mean, they also launched their own ACs after entering
yeah,
into the refrigerator. So that is also a good strategy. But
but there are
yeah.
so many other brands also. Even like look at MI for example. MI has gone
Hmm.
from phones
Yeah.
to TVs,
Cars now.
TVs to cars, right? And nobody seems to
Okay.
mind. The
Mind.
brand
Yeah.
asset is very fungible because it's
Hmm.
electronics at the end of the day, and it's about the experience and it's about the
Yeah.
longevity of the product, which is
Hmm.
transferable across appliances.
Across.
Uh,
Yeah.
But then I
like
think
another,
that JV was mainly because of this, as you said, ki, हाँ, because of the tech. Because I think Beko has good R&D plants and they are able to innovate new products over the years. That is why they have a strong hold in Europe. So I think Tata thought with their particular distribution network and marketing
Hmm.
process, they could just have a joint venture with this Beko and then
yeah.
launch it in the Indian markets. So I think that was the main motive, that Voltas's distribution and Beko's manufacturing expertise or innovation, that they
Yeah.
could join hands and then launch a good product in the Indian market. So yeah, I think that is the rationale behind this JV.
Because the only other place, at least we've seen it at, where an existing brand launches a new brand and does significantly well is Lloyd's, as we mentioned in the beginning.
Uh,
Hmm.
So Lloyd's is something that Havells has launched, and Havells
hmm.
has typically, again, similar story, has been a B2B player and has entered B2C now. It was B2B, not at at an industrial level also, but mainly in wires and cables and in
Yeah.
switch gears. And from there, the market shift was towards B2C when it came to switches, and
Hmm.
then basic appliances like fans and lights and all of that. And then for consumer electronics, when it came to ACs, fridges, washing machines, they launched Lloyd's,
Right.
um, which again went through a rough period in terms of investments and costs associated with it because
Initially.
it was expensive. Yeah, but now it's finally starting to um,
That the
bear fruit
fruits.
in terms of
Hmm.
scaling up and people associating Havells with Lloyd's or not. It doesn't matter. Lloyd's can be a
But Lord,
startup.
it's in itself is a become a rental.
Hmm.
So I think that's what can happen with Voltas as well,
Echo.
and Beko. Um,
Yeah.
And already in
Interesting to
few
see.
of the products they have a good market share. So there's this one washing machine category, semi-automatic washing machine. I don't know what it means. So they
I
already have
know.
a 12.8% market share in that particular category with the Beko
Hmm.
brand. And then they have been making inroads in the washing machine space, in the refrigerator space, where they have around 5.4% market share already. So I think, yeah, this strategy is working out for them.
yeah.
Hmm.
So let's see how does it pan over the
Yeah.
years. How does this story pan out for them? Yeah,
Hmm.
But the
this will
advantage
be
is this,
interesting to
right?
track.
Like because with EPC remaining stable,
Hmm.
they've been
Yeah.
able to grow the AC business at 15% CAGR, right?
Hmm.
So that obviously is, I mean, there is a major portion of revenue that is not growing, but that is about
Hmm.
30% of revenue now. So future of the company will just be that if ACs continue to grow at double digits, which they very well can because the penetration in India, as we said earlier, is low. So that driver
Hmm.
is there. And additionally, if they can add a growth driver of
Home
Beko,
apply.
that can further propel growth or maintain it at mid-teens or even higher teens. And as EPC becomes smaller and smaller in the overall scheme of things, that drag obviously reduces. So from an overall story perspective, I think this fits in very well as a good thesis. You've got a drag segment which is becoming more and more insignificant. ACs में stronghold है, that is a cash cow, and that keeps growing at a steady 15%. And then you've got a new additional growth driver which brings out exciting opportunities for the future in Beko. Which is also in India. I mean, it may be relatively more penetrated compared to ACs, but still there is under-penetration when it comes to all
In
electronic
everywhere. That is no.
electronics.
So
That
that
is the
India
good.
story of branded, organized, premium, all that standard shit you can chipka here also, and it will work.
True.
So on that note,
Yes.
sounds like a good AC to buy. We're not saying anything about the stock.
Yeah.
वोल्टस को अपने को स्पॉन्सर करना चाहिए. We have done so much marketing for them. बैठे
Yeah, for the AC.
Also
We're not even-
consult your local shop market, whatever, supermarket, consult them before buying ACs. Like you consult your financial advisor before buying stocks.
And on that note, that's a wrap.